This past week, I've been thinking a lot about the question of what compels people to great acts of kindness. I'm not talking about how when you're in line to get coffee and someone pays it forward and, then you have this train of everyone, blessing the person in line. Saying, okay, we bought your coffee. I think that's great, by the way. As a coffee connoisseur, I love that. Let's do more of that. I think that's great. But I'm talking like great acts of kindness. It's the stories in small groups where someone, they lose their job suddenly. Not due to poor performance or anything like that, but simply just to economics. The business isn't bringing in what it once was, and now you have someone who had a job, who was paying the mortgage, providing for their family, maybe even a little bit of cushion too. That's nice. Maybe it's a merger, they get bought out, and they suddenly lose their job, and a small group rallies around them and says, we got you, we'll help keep you afloat. I mean, who does that? It's people that their furnace goes out and they say, don't worry about it, we'll pull resources together, we'll help you with that. It's someone that loses a child unexpectedly, and they don't just set up meal trains, although those are incredible. They move in, so to speak. And they are with them. They're not always talking. They're not always giving solutions. They're just simply there with them. In all these great acts of kindness, there's an element of sacrifice that I feel like is always embedded in it. And we know why and what compels people to do these things. It's the love of Christ. And we do this because he first loved us. And so we respond by loving other people. But on the flip side, how do you and I respond when someone does a great act of kindness to us? Because I think built into our culture, there's kind of this unspoken rule of like every great gift deserves a great response. And on a very small level, we experience this at Christmas time. Someone gives us a gift, and there's this expectation that we respond appropriately to the gift, right? There's the, socks and underwear, you shouldn't have. And then there's the new bike of like, no way, a new bike, this is what I wanted. I mean, different gifts require different responses. And here's the one that gets me too, and if you're a follower of Jesus, I think you'll understand this. How do we respond to the great gifts that God has given us? When he shows us this grand, this wondrous, this great kindness upon our lives, how in the world do you respond? Because you know this, if you've received a great gift from anybody, let alone the Creator, if you've received a great gift from anybody, isn't there an element of us that we just kind of sit there and go, we feel a little bit unworthy? And we kind of feel like we're supposed to give something back in return, and thank you just doesn't seem like enough. But we know that we have no way of actually giving back in return what they have given to us. It's like, what do you do in that moment? And if I can be honest, I feel a little bit embarrassed sometimes. We've had a couple of things happen to our family over the scope of our lives as a family. And really all we can do, all we can afford to do, the only time that we have to do it in, really all we can offer in return is, thank you, this means a lot. And you've blessed us in a way that we can't even respond appropriately. And I don't know what your story is, but I'm sure you've got moments where people have spoken into your life, people have offered a gift, people have been there in the worst situations in life, and they're just there, and quite frankly, they're not even interested in the thank you. They're happy to do it. They feel compelled to do it. They feel drawn to go and do it. And sometimes, you know this about me, I can be a little bit cynical, and there are times in life where I feel like God has been blessing me, and then I look over at you, and I go, uh-oh, Lord, it feels like you're blessing them a lot more than me. Now, I'm a pastor, Lord. Need I remind you, I feel like my blessing should be a little bit higher if we're keeping score on someone else's. Oh, I'm the only one in the room doing that? Yeah, okay, thank you. And you get in those moments, and in those moments, my wife just gently nudges me because she's far more holy than I am. Just kind of nudges me, a quick little elbow, and just kind of reminds me, you're forgetting to count all the blessings that you haven't seen. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. And she goes, you have no idea how many times God has protected you or our family from things that you've never seen or experienced. And you can't possibly count those. You have no idea what he has saved us from, what he has protected us from. You thought you're going on this grand detour and hooking a left, and come to find out that this over here, the things you were praying for, were going to lead to a disaster. You can't put a number on that. You have no idea how to count that. So how do you respond to those things? How do we respond to the great things that God has done for us? How do we respond to the things that people have blessed us with? Because wouldn't you agree, every great gift does in fact deserve a great response. And I don't want us to feel embarrassed. I don't want us to feel, this obligatory, you've blessed me, so therefore I have to bless you back. I want us to just enjoy the kindness from other people. So how do we do that? And this is exactly what this morning's text is going to describe. It's going to walk us through how do we respond when a human being shows another human being extraordinary acts of kindness. Also, how do we respond when God Almighty shows us extraordinary acts of kindness? I mean, what do we do in this? So if you got a Bible, go to 2 Samuel chapter 9. 2 Samuel chapter 9. This is one of my favorite stories. One of my absolute favorite stories, and I hope that comes through in our time this morning. But 2 Samuel chapter 9, I'll give you a little bit of context as you're flipping there and turning there and searching there in your phones, on your Bibles, your apps, all the things. David is king, and life is good right now for David. You know, we spent a lot of time with David on the run, but in this story, David is established. The throne is secure, the kingdom established, life is good for David, and in a weird, twisted way, Saul and Jonathan have died in battle, and this is, while he mourns for Jonathan, this is actually good, because that bloodline, that royal bloodline no longer is there. Saul is king. Saul has a son named Jonathan. Jonathan is best friends with David. Jonathan is very aware that his dad, Saul, wants to kill his best friend. There's some conflict there, a little bit of drama going on, right? I mean, there's soap operas that are written about this stuff. So you have this dynamic, this here's Saul, here's Jonathan, here's David. They die in battle. David is king. Life is good. This is the perfect time to coast. This is the perfect time as king to put your feet up, to enjoy the fruits of your labor. You've been on the run for your life for countless years. You're safe, you're protective, you've got some income coming in, you've got some feasts, life is good. You don't really need to ask for more. And at this stage in his life, you don't really need to go and do a whole lot more. And David does the weirdest thing ever. He makes good on a promise long, long, long ago. And a time for him to coast and just enjoy, he doubles down and makes good on a promise. We're in 2 Samuel, but this promise takes place in 1 Samuel chapter 20. Keep your thumb, your bookmark where you're at, 2 Samuel. I'll go ahead and read this, kind of catch us up, set some context for us. So 1 Samuel 20, this is the promise that Jonathan makes with David. Again, remember the issue? Saul, dad, wants to kill best friend. Jonathan's here. Jonathan should be king. Jonathan is well aware that he will not be king because the Lord has chosen David to be king. We skip all over the mental process and the hurdles and gymnastics of Jonathan having to work through all of that. I mean, imagine you're next in line and you go, oh, it's not me, it's actually my best friend. So Jonathan makes a promise with David, and David agrees to the promise. Here's what it is. He says, but show me unfailing kindness like the Lord's kindness. And wouldn't you agree that's a tall order? Unfailing kindness, meaning consistent, don't fail on this, like the Lord's kindness, as long as I live, so that I may not be killed. And do not ever, like ever, do not ever cut off your kindness from my family, not even when the Lord has cut off every one of David's enemies from the face of the earth. Now grab your number 2 pencils, put your glasses on, your readers. We're going into the lab, into the classroom. We got to look at this word kindness. It showed up 3 times right there. But show me unfailing kindness like the Lord's kindness, and don't ever cut off your kindness from my family. This word kindness in Hebrew, it's the Greek word Hesed. Everyone say Hesed. Oh, that was really good. You went to Hebrew. This is great. Okay, so it's a Hebrew word Hesed. It's not really a word that you just translate and put another word in. It's more of a concept. And scholars have a hard time, because it means so much. It's this grand experience. They have a hard time whittling it down to certain words. So what we've sort of landed on in all of our translations of this Hebrew word hesed is the phrase loving kindness. Sometimes it's God's kindness, but as a general rule, in most of your translations, you will see loving kindness. And like I said, it's hard to whittle down, but I did my best for us. So in your notes, hesed, this is someone going beyond what is expected or required in the context of friendship. It's someone who goes above and beyond. If this is the bare minimum, they go way above it. I mean, way above it, to the point where it's almost embarrassing. It's unheard of. Nobody does this. And so go back to this. Sorry, no, keep going. In your notes, it's often demonstrated with special acts of kindness, of loyalty, of mercy, grace, and what's that last one? Of love. So going above and beyond, I mean, massively, like yards and yards and yards, football fields above what is expected in any sort of friendship. I mean, this is a big deal. And special acts, I mean, just laser focused in all things kindness, in loyalty. You ever been stabbed in the back by a friendship? That hurts. I mean, we're talking the loyalist of all loyalty. Mercy, grace, and love. You think of any of your friendships. You think of your marriage. You think of relationships with coworkers at work. Hesed, this idea, special acts going far beyond what is required. What is required in your marriage, what is required in any sort of friendship gets blown out of the water. I mean, this is how massive this concept of Hesed is. And I think for you and I, it is best seen in the life of Jesus Christ. You want to talk about grace? You want to talk about mercy? About loyalty? I mean, here's a guy, as he's walking around and crowds are around him, he's got a mission, he's got things to do, he's quite influential in his world, and there's someone that goes and points at him, and he stops. He has time for the outcasts, those marginalized, people on the sidelines, people that whole crowd that is following him has forgotten to even exist. Not only does he have time, he does miracles. And you fast forward, you have his death, his resurrection on the cross. I mean, you want to talk about Hesed. Going far beyond what is required, or what is the social norm, if you will. It's best seen in Jesus. So what I want to do, I want to read this promise again that Jonathan and David work out. But every time we say the word kindness, instead of saying kindness, I want you to say Hesed. And by the way, bonus points if you get a good in there. You want to practice? Ready? Go. That was great. That was really good. Okay, you ready? 3 of you. Here we go. Verse 14. But show me unfailing Hesed, like the Lord's, as long as I live, so that I may not be killed. And do not ever cut off your Hesed from my family. And even when the Lord has cut off every one of David's enemies from the face of the earth. Why would Jonathan make David do this promise? Better yet, why would David agree to this type of promise? Because it was very common, this was the norm. If you become king and you are not of that bloodline, your job is to eliminate that bloodline, because if anyone exists from Saul's bloodline, there could be a mutiny. There could be a party that rises up and goes, you're not part of the royal line. It's this person. They should be king. So there's this danger. There's this built-in conflict. And so if you completely eliminate and destroy that bloodline, you're good to go. Because then it's just you, the royal king, versus all the peasants. So this happened all the time. And Jonathan's going, I'm supposed to be king. That's how this whole thing's supposed to go. My father's crazy. God has clearly chosen you, my best friend, to be king. I will step aside, but best friend, please do not obliterate our bloodline. And David agrees. So, 2 Samuel chapter 9, verse 1. That's all context to get us here. You ready? 2 Samuel chapter 9, verse 1. David asked, again, he's chilling, life is good. He asked, is there anyone still left in the house of Saul to whom I can show Hesed for Jonathan's sake? Wrong question. It should read, David asked, is there anyone still left in Saul's household whom I can destroy? Wipe off the face of the earth, because I want to make sure that life is not only good, but that it stays real good for me. That's what it's supposed to read. But he phrases it differently, and he says, whom I can show Hesed, for whose sake? For my best friend's sake. Fascinating. Verse 2, now there was a servant of Saul's household named Ziba. They summoned him to appear before David, and the king said to him, are you Ziba? And he replied, at your service, which is a great thing to say when you used to serve the former king, and you get summoned, you're going, uh-oh, because you know what happens when you get summoned? You die. You're dead. And so, are you this guy? Are you Ziba? At your service. Great response. And the king said, is there no one still alive from the house of Saul to whom I can show God's? Not keep alive, not write a small little check, not to tolerate, to deal with, to put up with. Hesed, that I can show outrageous generosity and kindness and love and mercy and grace and loyalty to the enemy. So all throughout history, you have royal lines, you have kings passing on from generation to generation to generation. If you're not part of that family line, you are the enemy. And if you're not part of that line and you become king, that line is the enemy. And David goes, is there one left? Because of my great love and my promise and commitment to Jonathan, is there anyone left in Saul's line that I can bless beyond all measure? Ziba answered the king, there's still a son of Jonathan. Oh, and by the way, he's lame in both feet. Now, this is a big deal. He's lame in both feet. Keep your finger where you're at. I'm going to go and give us a little context. There's a short phrase that explains this, short verse that explains this, 2 Samuel 4:4. Jonathan, son of Saul, had a son who was lame in both feet. He was 5 years old when the news about Saul and Jonathan came from Jezreel. What was the news? Saul and Jonathan died in battle. And the conquering army is conquering. His nurse picked him up and fled. But as she hurried to leave, he fell and became disabled. His name was Mephibosheth. Now, to fall and have your legs be broken and not work at any age, at any point, is really difficult. Really difficult. To have this happen to you in ancient times, this is a death sentence. You can't provide for yourself. You're dependent upon other people moving you around the rest of your life. So he's got some royal blood in him, so that's a good thing that lightens the load a little bit here. But this is incredibly difficult. He's not even allowed in the temple. He can't, he's disqualified from so many things. All because of good intentions and trying to escape as a conquering army continues to conquer. And so the scriptures say that he's lame in both feet. Pick it up, 2 Samuel chapter 9, verse 4. Where is he, the king asked, and Ziba answered, he is at the house of Machir, son of Ammiel, in Lo Debar. Lo Debar, this is fascinating, and then we'll finish up the rest of the text. This is fascinating. Lo is usually a negative, almost always a negative. Debar means either word or thing. So you have this guy who is lame in both feet, who is a nobody, who's been hidden, who's in the lowest of lows of ancient times, even though he has some royal blood in him. From the place of no thing or no word. Like what kind of word? There isn't even a word to describe this pile of junk. Like what? This little podunk town. We don't even know. Do you see what the text is doing here? They're building Mephibosheth. They're not building. They are tearing him down into a nobody. And he'll reference who he thinks he is here later on in the text. So the king had him brought from Lo Debar, from the house of Machir, son of Ammiel. When Mephibosheth, son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, came to David, he bowed down to pay him honor. Why would he do that? He's thinking he's going to die. Similar to Ziba, at your service, king. How low can I go? I mean, this is exactly what's happening right here. He bowed down low to pay him honor, and David said, Mephibosheth. Notice the exclamation point. Did you see it? Mephibosheth. I mean, just put yourself in his shoes. This is a terrifying moment. At your service, he replied. Now, I think he did it sheepishly because, again, I think he thinks he's brought there so that he can die. So David's throne becomes that much more secure. And David in verse 7 says this. He says, don't be afraid. Pop quiz, why do you think he said that? Because he was afraid. You don't have to say that to people that are cool, calm, and collective. Like, you don't have to say that. But David understands the situation. He says, don't be afraid, for I will surely show you Hesed. For the sake of your father, Jonathan, listen to this. I will restore to you all the land that belonged to your father Saul. Did you catch that? How much land? All. Hesed, going beyond what is necessary, what is required or expected. I mean, all the land of your grandfather Saul. And you will, what's that word? Always eat at my table. So David brings him in and says, I'm going to show you this extravagant kindness. I'm going to restore all the land that belonged to Grandpa Saul, who's a Benjamite. So he probably had that territory about 3 miles north of Jerusalem. Soil just rich, just great for agriculture, which means not only food, it also means money. And Mephibosheth, bowing low at your service, is sitting here going, okay, I've got that stuff. Oh, and by the way, I'm brought into the inner circle. I will be dining with the king always. This is insane. Nobody does this. I'm trying so hard to stress this point. No one does this. He should be dead. And David goes, because of Jonathan, that promise, my love for him. Hesed. This is beautiful. In your notes, Hesed goes well beyond what is necessary. Well beyond and far beyond what is necessary. So you get Saul's personal estate, like all the land, the royal pension, right? You got the food, you got access to doctors. You're in the inner circle. The king's table, this is meant for family. This is meant for captains, commanders, chiefs, officers. I mean, advisors, like the big dogs have a seat at the table. He's from a know-nothing town. We don't have a great word to describe this thing. He's lame in both feet. This is not good. And all of a sudden, whoop, he is at the top. He goes from the bottom all the way to the top. Verse 8, Mephibosheth bowed down and said, what is your servant that you should notice a dead dog like me? Notice the contrast? Dead dog like me from a worthless town, can't contribute. There's no way I could ever earn a spot at the king's table. I can't even go and work the land that you gave me. Dead dog. And what does David do with the dead dog? Elevates him to the highest of highest levels that anyone, let alone someone lame in 2 legs, could ever be. Verse 9, the king summoned Ziba, Saul's steward, and said to him, I have given your master's grandson everything that belonged to Saul and his family. You and your sons and your servants are to farm the land for him and bring in the crops so that your master's grandson may be provided for. And Mephibosheth, grandson of your master, will always eat at my table. Now Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. Do you see Hesed? Hesed, it's an undeserved gift. He does not deserve this. There is no element of entitlement here. He deserves none of this. What's supposed to happen is he's supposed to die because he is a dead dog. By the way, what good is a dead dog? Just help me out. Nothing. Worthless. Come here, boy. Can't do it. Can't do it. Throw the stick. Nothing. Do you see what he's doing? The massive contrast is so intentional. Hesed is this undeserved gift, and Mephibosheth is receiving it. Verse 11, then Ziba said to the king, Ziba, put yourself in his shoes. You serve Saul. You're now in this weird, awkward position where you got this new king. Okay, I'm going to serve this new king. And he goes, hey, this guy, the grandson, he gets everything, all this land. And obviously he can't work the land. So Ziba, you, your servants, your sons, you're going to work the land. And who's sitting at the table? Ziba? Nope. Mephibosheth. How would you respond? Then Ziba said to the king, your servant will do, what's the word? Your servant will do whatever my lord the king commands his servant to do. Great response. Well, you don't understand. Like, maybe I should have a seat at the table, or couldn't we hire some other people to go and work the land so that, could we split all the profits, the proceeds, all the food? Maybe there's this co-op thing we could all work out here? No, none of it. He just goes, I'll do what you've asked me to do. Not only is this smart just for the preservation of his life, this is respectful, this is honorable, this is serving. This, in many regards, is Hesed. I will show kindness to this person. So Mephibosheth ate at David's table like one of the king's sons. Verse 12, Mephibosheth had a young son named Micah, and all the members of Ziba's household were servants of Mephibosheth. And Mephibosheth lived in Jerusalem because he always ate at the king's table. Oh, and by the way, in case we forgot, he was lame in both feet. Now imagine for a moment, you're Mephibosheth, like how in the world do you respond to this? What do? You can't do anything to pay back the king for what he's done for you. Physically, you can't do it. Financially, you can't do it. Like you don't have any resources to go and bless the one who's blessed you. What else do you say? You say thank you. And so I posed in the very beginning of our conversation, our time this morning, I said, how do you respond to such great acts of kindness? Here it is in your notes. Hesed is to be received, and here's the big one, enjoyed. Amen. To be received and enjoyed. Stick with me for a moment. Imagine if Mephibosheth is sitting at the king's table and he goes, hey, here's some ribs. I smoked them for you. Enjoy. These things, the finest of all finest of barbecue sauces, the right amount of sweet, the right amount of heat. Enjoy. And he goes, well, no, like I don't really, this probably should go to somebody else. I don't feel worthy of it. And David's like, I know you're not worthy of it. Enjoy, my man. He goes, well, I've got a friend who has it worse. Like, he grew up in a more podunk town than I did. Maybe it should go to him. It's like, as the king, you're like, what? I made this for you, man. You're supposed to say thank you, and you're supposed to enjoy and eat it and get a little barbecue all over your face, maybe stain the fine clothes that, by the way, the king purchased for you. Do you ever give someone a gift at Christmas and they go, thanks, and they just set it aside and they do nothing with it? Parents? It's like, you know how much that gift cost? You take your kid, you save months and months and months, and you take your kids, you fly all the way down to Disney, and all they want to do is swim in the pool. You're like, come on, man, this is Disneyland. It's like water, like we have water at home. Hesed is to be received, and it is to be enjoyed. Every great gift deserves a great response. You know what the best response is? Thank you, and to have a blast with it. To enjoy it, to smile because of it. To tell other people about it. Like, you don't understand, I just experienced some Hesed. Your friends will look at you like, you're crazy. And I'm like, yeah, I know, a little bit, I am. Yeah, okay, a lot of it. But you want to believe what just happened to me. Oh, here's one, can we go further? You won't believe what God just did in my life. And we start sharing stories, and other people go, that's insane. And you know what they mean when they say, that's insane? They go, oh, I wish that happened to me. Pause. The best way for you and I to respond to this story, it'd be really good. It'd be great. It wouldn't be best. It'd be really good for us to go around and find people in the community and Hesed. Yes, do that. Yes and amen, forever and evermore. You know, I think the best way to respond to this is for us to put ourselves in the position of Mephibosheth and to put Jesus in the position of King David. And for us to realize in this world, we can do nothing to earn a spot at the king's table. We can't ever repay the king back for anything he has done for us. The best way you and I can respond to the King of Kings and Lord of Lords is to receive his grace, his unconditional love, his blessings on our life. And ready? Enjoy it. You might be familiar with this one. The fruit of the Spirit is love. Joy, somebody! Yeah, turn to the people next to you. Just smile at them. Just smile at them. Go ahead, right now. Just smile at them. This is really good. Isn't there something in you that kind of made you smile a little bit? Some of you are laughing. I couldn't tell you the last time you laughed in church. Well, he's pressing me down and we're going through a hard thing. Yes, I don't want to make light of that one bit. Yes, pain is pain. It hurts. It is not good. And I don't want any of it. It is real. It does happen in life. But sometimes I think maybe in some of that pain is this idea that this shouldn't happen to me. And for me, when I put myself in Mephibosheth, I sit there and go, why not me? I go, I've been invited to the king's table. I get to eat there. What did it say? Always. Always. I'm invited. I have no business being there. I'm worth it. You want to talk about dead dog? Here I am. I bring nothing to this table. The king brings everything to the table. I'm just invited to be there. The ribs are really good. And my hope is that as Christians, man, we would walk around and we would go I'm Mephibosheth. I bring nothing to this place. A dead dog from nowhere, but I'm invited. It feels pretty good to be invited to a party, especially with the king. And we take the king's blessing upon our lives and we look out at other people and I go, oh, they should probably be invited. We need to bring them in. We need to Hesed upon their lives so that they too can experience a relationship with the king that goes well beyond what is required or expected. Some might even look at it and go, this is insane and foolish. But this is how good the king is.